On this special edition of the Week in Viz podcast, I take a look at the OnLive Gaming system, the cloud-based gaming system that allows you to play any game, console or PC, from pretty much any device you can find. Coming up this Week in Viz. Welcome to another edition of This Week in Viz. So this week we're going to depart from our usual news-based format, and instead I'm going to focus on a special piece of hardware that was given to me by the folks at OnLive. So we've talked about it before, and it's the OnLive Gaming system. Now, it's been advertised as a piece of hardware you can hook up to your TV and your internet router, and then play any game you want without having to go out and buy a PS3, an Xbox 360, or a high-end gaming system. What's not as widely known is that there's also a software-based version which is free to download. If you've never tried it before, I highly recommend you go on to OnLive.com, create a free account, and download the software. Then you can log on and browse their marketplace and watch other people play. You can't actually play any games until you buy them or sign up for a Play Pass account. The Play Pass account is their, I believe, $7 a month, maybe $10 a month gaming plan that gives you access to about 60 or 70 different games. You can also go and buy full Play Passes of individual games like Duke Nukem Forever and the new Fear 3 for about $50. Or you can rent the games for $5 or $10 for 3 or 6 days. It's a very interesting system. Now, I've experimented a lot with remote visualization systems over the years. Being in the HPC visualization space, it's part of my job to deal with remote visualization, client-server applications. So I didn't have very high hopes for what I've seen of this type of technology. But OnLive took me up on my bet. They shipped me a system, gave me an account, and I've been experimenting with it for a little over a week. So far, I've clocked 8 hours of Duke Nukem Forever and 2 or 3 of the new Fear 3. That alone should tell you that this system is impressive. So before we get into the hardware system, let's start off with the software system. So when you start OnLive, this is what the starting screen looks like. While it may be hard to see, actually everything you're seeing at this point is being streamed from OnLive's remote services. At any point, you can press on my MacBook Alt-O to pull up the OnLive menus where you can change your various profile settings or quick launch different games. They also have a showcase area similar to the Steam store showing whatever's on sale or new offerings. Also, you can go and look in their marketplace to buy games. You can see they have a pretty extensive selection, several mainstream games and several games I've never heard of, covering everything from PC games to the multiple console systems, with games such as BioShock, Duke Nukem, Dirt, all the various sports games, and several classics. So like I mentioned, I've spent some time with Duke Nukem Forever, and I'm going to pull it up here. First off, you can see the arena of other people that are playing that you can monitor how they're doing, or you can check the brag clips. Brag clips can be made by any player simply by pressing a designated keystroke during the game to publish a short 10-second clip of something within the game. Once the game started, it immediately comes to the loading animation here, showing some various cutscenes from within the game before actually starting the game here. This is the full-blown version of the PC game, complete with all the various splash screens and menus. Now, it may interest you to know that I'm actually running this on a black 13-inch MacBook Pro from about 4 years ago. It's got an integrated Intel GMA graphics chip, 4 GB of RAM, and a single processor. Not only am I on the wrong operating system, but my machine is woefully underpowered to actually be playing this game. So I'm going to skip through the rather extensive loading screens that Duke Nukem Forever offers and get right into the game. Early on, you can see the graphics are amazingly good. It's just like in the PC version. You can see the same textures, high-resolution graphics, the animation and the weapon switching in this case is quite fluid. The only difference from the main game is if I come into the options here, you'll see that I have no graphics control options. All of the graphics control settings have instead been set by OnLive for optimized performance on their equipment. So to show you some high action stuff, this is one of the early boss scenes in the game. You can see here that even with some pretty extensive animations, there's a lot of screen changes going on frame to frame. OnLive and the bandwidth keeps up amazingly good. I'm doing this on my cable modem from my house across a wireless network, and you can still see the performance is simply amazing. There's very little banding or compression artifacts. The entire response rate is surprisingly good, and the whole game seems to do an excellent job of keeping up with me. In some of the extreme scenes, like the muzzle flashes, you can see there's a tiny bit of compression, but it only lasts for a second and very quickly transitions back to a pretty much full resolution frame. So let's try a different game, one that's perhaps even more demanding on my non-existent hardware. This is Fear 3, one of the more recent releases. Again, I'm running it on my black MacBook. Again, you can see surprisingly high detail in some of the fine areas, like those electrical arcs. Very little banding and visual artifacts and compression going on here. You can see the controls are amazingly fluid. What OnLive has done for Fear, actually, is to adapt the console version of the game so that the controls default to working with the OnLive controller. However, I'm still playing it on my laptop with a keyboard and mouse, just because that's how I've always learned to play first-person shooters. Fear 3 makes extensive use of a cover system, so that's why you see me hiding behind things most of the time. The game still has the same textures, the same models, the exact same level of detail that you could see in the actual production game. And again, this is all running on my tiny little 13-inch MacBook Pro with an Intel integrated graphics system. So let's take a look at what's inside the box if you actually get the hardware OnLive system. If you open the box, the first thing you'll see is, of course, the controller. The controller closely resembles most modern console controllers. You got dual analog sticks, 4 buttons, 4 shoulders. The unit itself is incredibly small, 2 USB ports on the front for synchronizing the controllers, and on the back you can see the HDMI, power cable, and Cat5 network cable. You get some short connection instructions, not too much to worry about there, and underneath that are all the various cables that you'll need to connect things up. It comes with a pair of AA batteries to initially power up the controller, of course a power adapter to actually plug the unit in, and a small rechargeable battery pack that you can use if you so choose. In addition to that, it also comes with a fairly good length HDMI cable and Cat5 cable that you can use to connect the units up. The OnLive system, unfortunately, does currently require a wired connection to your internet router. So if you're using a wireless setup, then once you update the firmware, you have the option of connecting a wired to wireless bridge, which is not sold by OnLive and must be purchased separately. So in these following videos, you'll see the system connected to this Vizio television here. The system by default runs at 1080p, and I have it connected to my time capsule internet router from Apple. So the system easily comes up and connects to the OnLive system, and very quickly you'll see the exact same startup screens that you see on the software version. Again, all of these visuals are being streamed remotely from the online servers. This is all running across, again, my Comcast cable modem internet access. And once the system comes up, you'll see the exact same menu that you see on the software version. One of the nice features of OnLive is, since everything is cloud-based, you can very easily access the exact same save games, user profiles, and other settings across both systems. Therefore, you'll see me fire up my game of Duke Nukem Forever again, accessing the same save file that I was using on my MacBook Pro. You can see here that the visuals are just as good as they were on the software version, probably even better, since here I'm getting slightly higher resolution than I do on my 13-inch MacBook. So to take you quickly into a scene from the game once it's fired up, again I'll skip the long loading scenes, Playing with a controller is not exactly my forte, but you can see here, again, the visuals are extremely fluid, high resolution. They look just as good as they do on the PC. And that given that this is a PC game, being able to play it with a controller on a television is an experience that most of the Halo generation would probably love to have, but currently isn't available. And of course, you can do all the other features that you could on the software version on the hardware version as well. Here you can see me browsing the arena, where I'm pulling up some random player here who happens to be playing Fear 3. They're further along in the game than I am, obviously, but you can see the exact same experience that you get actually playing the game yourself, the same textures, the same graphics, all shown here in surprising detail and clarity. And there you have it, the amazing OnLive game system. They've turned me into a believer. In addition to what I've shown you, they also have an iPad app. However, the iPad app, which is free, is called the OnLive Viewer. You have to have an account, and unfortunately, it only allows you to view other people playing games or the brag clips. You can manage your account, but you can't actually play any of the games yourself. Hopefully, that will be coming down the pipe soon. I, frankly, am amazed at how well the system works. I've tried it from a couple different places. It's worked fantastic, and I am a believer. I'm probably going to keep an account because it's a great way for me to get access to all of these games that I frankly don't want to go out and buy consoles and hardware for. Hopefully, they'll partner up with one of the major game distributors like Steam. If they partnered with Steam to allow you to access the entire Steam library from inside your OnLive account, they'd probably have a coup and own the entire market. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. There's some other rumors out there about stuff like that, but we'll just have to wait and see. So that concludes this week's podcast. Don't forget, we are running a contest, the lucky winner of which will get this nice Quadro 4800. Double wide card, brand new, almost never used. To enter, all you have to do is go and join our mailing list. I look forward to seeing you again, and next week we'll be announcing the winner.